Hi, everybody. We are going to get started. It looks like some people are having trouble getting the link, but hopefully seems like more people are jumping in, so that's great. We will have you all muted during the webinar, and also your video screen shouldn't be able to be shown. If you want to share something or would like to be unmuted, just click on the chat button and you can send a chat to me or Todd Coffey, either one of us, and we'll be able to see your questions and anything like that. To join us. We're going to take some time to talk today about self-awareness. Here at BOSTnet, we're definitely working on getting more information about social emotional learning and how it can be utilized best in out-of-school time programming. So keep an eye out for new materials that we'll be creating and sending out in the next couple months. But today, we are really excited to spend some time talking about self-awareness. My name is Allison Wuttan. I'm the project director here at BOSTnet. I mostly do training and coaching for the program for BOSTnet. And I previously have worked in out-of-school time for the past 10 years or so as a program staff, as a director. So very excited to be here today. And then Todd Coffey is going to be my co-presenter today.
Great. Thanks, Allison. I am getting a little bit of an echo, but I'm Todd, and I've worked with Allison here the last few years, and most recently finished a social emotional learning fellowship with the National After School Association, where we worked with a lot of other organizations and programs to help them implement some social emotional strategies and really just expose them to some of the resources that are available for programs. There are so many great resources and organizations here that can serve and have a whole lot of information, curriculum, all these things available, but so many of them don't get as much exposure as they really should. So one of our key goals is to not only produce some content ourselves and help you guys, but also make you guys aware of some of the great resources that exist. And these slides will be available to anyone at the end, and we've included some links to some really great curriculum, resources, and other things that you guys can use to take some of these topics to the next level, because of course 30 minutes is not does not do these topics justice. So we are glad you're here, and why don't we get into it. So this webinar, we wanted to focus on just one narrow slice since we only did half an hour, and we chose self-awareness as our topic. It is depending on the methodology, self-awareness, social emotional methodology you use, it is one of the base levels. And as you can see here, CASEL, which is the largest social emotional learning organization, has defined it as the ability to accurately recognize one's own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how they influence our behavior. Being able to accurately assess your strengths and limitations, and establishing a sense of confidence, optimism, and growth mindset. This can look like a lot of different things. So one of the key areas that we'll be covering is that, topics like self-awareness, social awareness, goal setting, all of these things really work together. So there are topics, and we've listed a few below. Coping, empathy, you can see anything from self-talk through grit and perseverance. All of these rely on a measure of self-awareness. And self-awareness, some people might look at it and think that really is meant for early learning or K, first, second grade type of students, but really even through adults, this is a skill and topic that people should really focus on and can develop. And so if we move on, we can look at some of the key frameworks that are used. Self-awareness, as you guys know, is just one part of your social emotional learning. There are two widely used frameworks here for social emotional learning. And the first on the right you'll see is Castle's. We had put a quote up from them earlier, but you guys may be familiar with them. They are one of the biggest organizations here, and you can see self-awareness fits up in that upper left. They have done a sort of a slice approach, and they do that to allow you to sort of focus and put resources in one area. I also wanted to introduce the University of Minnesota approach towards the social emotional learning, which has a more work from the inner and out. So you would see self-awareness is that middle donut there, which includes, you know, ways that you're aware of your own feelings, and then they include ways that you're aware of others, aware of your goals. So they've taken a little bit more of a personal focus rather than a sort of topical area focus. There is a really great toolkit, social emotional toolkit from the University of Minnesota that was just released about 2 weeks ago with a lot of strategies and activities that you can use to build in some self-awareness and other social emotional skills into that. And we were actually a peer reviewer on that. So we have a link to that at the end, but you guys should definitely check that out. It's a nice big, 100-page document, but it's got some real good activities and other things broken up in there. So moving on to the next slide. I think you probably are all aware of the benefits of self-awareness, particularly to your children. Just getting the kids calmed down, getting yourself calmed down, and being aware that you are maybe upset or sad or experiencing an emotion can help you self-regulate and get to a state that you're in control and really sort of proactively decide what emotion you want to be exhibiting rather than being at the being a victim to your emotions. But in addition to that, there are several studies that show social emotional skills in children have a big outcome across many domains. So not only education and test scores, but employment, incarceration rates, drug abuse, mental health, all of these things are strengthened by social emotional skills. And many of the most important ones begin with self-awareness. So just wanted to show that one quickly. Move on. So today we wanted to just talk about two really narrow parts of self-awareness, and that is emotions and values. I think two of those are some of the most, on the one hand, emotions are often quite easy to observe and name. So we wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then values, I thought, was the other side of the coin, which can dictate emotions and responses. So that is often a cause of your emotional response to an event. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of resources, and we will link to some of those at the end. So here we have a first activity, and this is a matrix that has been studied and used in a lot of research and has made its way into a lot of programs, particularly the early work here in social emotional learning. So I'm wondering, even as adults, can we distinguish between emotional intensity. I think a lot of us understand what it's like to be happy, sad, scared, all of these, key emotions, but understanding the difference in intensity can be tough as you're experiencing them, right? You can get upset, sad, all of these things, but really being able to name what does a medium level of one emotion or a low level of another is important, not only so you or children can describe them to other people, but also so you can get a sense of where you're at and understand some of the nuanced differences there. So Allison, did you want to go ahead and walk us through some of these?
Yep, sure. So I'm actually going to toss this all on to you all to try out. And there's no judgment here. As I was doing this activity, I was realizing that I was having a hard time and I had to look up some words.
Me too.
Yeah, but I want you all to start by thinking about happy. The word happy, right? We can say that I'm feeling happy today. But the word happy doesn't necessarily distinguish, are we feeling like a low intensity level of happiness or maybe a high level intensity of happiness? And having these vocabulary words are really big for adults and children all alike to be able to really express how they're feeling. So I would love for you all to take some time and go into the chat box. And I would first like you all to try to name words for happy that would indicate high intensity, medium intensity, and low intensity. And I would love for you all to type those into the chat box to everybody. Or you can direct the message just to me if you're feeling a little shy about it. And I'm going to give you all about 30 seconds to do that. And then I'm going to share with you what some of the words that we came up with were. So I see that one of the answers we had, all right, great, these are coming in. We're seeing some high could be excited or ecstatic, excited, belly laugh. I like that. That's great. And then medium, we had some suggestions like pleased. We had, what else? Satisfied. It's good. And then some of the lower ones that people suggested were maybe carefree, smiling, a giggle. I like how you're thinking about like, how would you show it? That's great. Awesome. So some of the words that we came up with for happy, and I like that you're all throwing out different ones because it's not all going to be the same is the point. So a high intensity word for happy might be euphoric. Somebody just said overjoyed. I love that one. And then medium might be joyful, or somebody else said satisfied or pleased. And then low happiness, which is still happiness, but a low intensity, I suggested maybe content. Somebody else said content or pleased or glad. So just from the chat box, you can see that people have a lot of different words to mean with this. And I'm interested, thinking about it. Do the kids, can they think of these words necessarily? Maybe euphoric isn't necessarily a word that a kindergarten, first, second, fifth grader would use. But knowing that they could say like, I'm overjoyed or I'm excited is different than saying, I'm happy or I'm content, I'm pleased, I'm satisfied. Awesome. You all did a great job. So let's try next. We're going to do sad. So I'd love for you all to take another 30 seconds again and type in the chat box a high intensity word for sad, a medium intensity word for sad, and low intensity word for sad. All right, we're getting some good words in here. So Abigail shared, hi might be inconsolable or miserable or mournful. We also have depressed. Those are great. And then for some medium, we have melancholy. That's a good one. Mopey, or maybe unhappy, morose. Those are great. And then for some of the lower suggestions, we had unhappy or gloomy, down in the dumps. It's a good one. Or okay was a good one. Let's see what else we have. Solitary. Oh, that's a good word. Yeah, feeling sad, you might feel solitary. So let's see what some of the other ones. You all are welcome to keep typing it in. So some of the ones that I thought of for sad, if I was feeling like a high intensity sadness, I might say I'm feeling depressed. If, it's a medium level of sadness, I might say, I'm feeling hurt. My feelings are feeling hurt. And a low intensity might be that I feel let down. And so the idea being that when adults and kids have these different words, they're able to better identify their feelings. Because if somebody told me that they're feeling let down, then I would, that would be one conversation to have with a kid or an adult. All right, well, what made you feel let down? Who let you down? Whereas if they're saying, I'm depressed, then they're clearly just very sad, very unhappy. And so giving kids and adults those different words to utilize is a great way to help them identify their emotions and be more self-aware. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to show you what I had for for scared, I'm sorry. So my high was terrified, medium was frightened, and low was worried. And I would encourage you all to, we're not going to go through all of these, but just take some time to think about these and recognize in yourself, are you able to name these different words and think about them?
Yeah, and Allison, I think we had a really interesting conversation a little bit ago when we were talking about how would you use these, and teaching children these may help you, understand what kind of response you need to give to them. If they can communicate a low level of sad, that might be something you just, you react one way, and a higher level may necessitate a stronger response. And also some activity ideas around giving children a word and seeing if they can act it out. Do they have enough self-awareness to show the difference between worried and terrified? There are some really cool activities and ideas you could use trying to get children to show different intensities and what does that mean in body language and in manner and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So one of the tools that I've utilized with this is the mood meter, which is from Yale's ruler method. And we have a link here that we'll send when we send the slides out to you later that shows a more detailed description. But the idea with the mood meter is it's created for kids in elementary school. And the idea is that you have all of your emotions can be described with this energy side and the pleasantness side. So if I'm feeling really high energy but very low pleasantness, I'm going to be in this red section. And maybe I'm feeling really low energy but really pleasant, really happy, and I'll be in this section. And I utilized this because the school district that I was working within used this, and so the kids knew how to use it. So here's an example. And so when kids are able to identify saying, okay, I'm feeling high energy but low pleasantness, here's some words that I might be feeling. I might be feeling enraged if I am just completely unpleasant but very high energy. Or maybe down here, I'm feeling irritated. So I'm not as high energy, but my pleasantness is still pretty low. And so when the kids think of new words, you can put it in a visual for them. And the kids that I was working with at my program, they utilized this so much in school that we then put one up at our program, at our after school program. And when I'd have conversations with kids about, hey, what's going on? I see that you're feeling a lot right now. They would sometimes look at the mood meter and say, yeah, I'm feeling, and they'd look at it and they might say, I'm feeling agitated. So that's probably an older child who's using that word, but you never know. but so they're able to look at it and then identify that emotion more clearly instead of saying to me, I'm really mad. It's like, okay, well, let's, break that down a little bit more. And so I think this is a great way to utilize this with kids. You can have it up in your program. I know some of the schools use it where they have kids magnets, and kids can move their magnets throughout the day to let you know, like maybe they came in and they were just feeling, they're feeling fine, but they're just really low energy and they're calm. But maybe they're low energy, but they're excluded. And so sometimes it's great for them to be able to label that way. Todd, do you have anything to add to that, or are you ready to move on to the next slide?
Yeah, I was muted, but I was just saying that looks cool, and it certainly helps children put words to what they're feeling, and that can be very helpful. So I think we're ready to move on, and I know we are closing in on a half an hour. So real briefly, just wanted to understand why we're doing some of this and some of the ordering of feeling emotions. There is this reflect, identify, anticipate level. So when you are consumed, and particularly children, but also adults, when you are sort of consumed with an emotion, you may even be blind to it, right? And you're not really able to identify how you were feeling until after, right? And that is sort of a first developmental order. Younger children, and if it's a low emotional intelligence or a really high level of emotion, even for people with higher self-awareness, they may not be able to, in the moment, understand what they're feeling. And often this will come out in words that externalize the cause or the reaction. So, they'll sort of say, you did this, or you did that, or he did that, or she did that. And it's not, they're almost putting the responsibility on someone else. You move up a little bit when you get to identification, which is, so while you're in an emotional state, you're understanding how you're feeling, and you're probably beginning to put that on yourself. Understand that you are starting to be in control of your emotions. So even if he hit me, that is not an excuse for you to feel upset. So we use some of that as well. And then the third level will be anticipation. So a very mature level of understanding your emotions. It's after lunch, you're going in and you're saying, okay, it's been a long day. I didn't get a lot of sleep. I know that I will probably become irritated at some point during this class. Someone's going to say something, and that's going to, cause me to lose a little bit because I've just been worn down, and that really allows you to prepare yourself beforehand. That can be really tough for children or for adults, but that is some of the reasons why we're going after that, and something you should notice in children as they sort of work through that process of emotional identification. So then we can move to the next one. A few common tips are, focusing on positive emotions. You don't want emotions to be associated with a negative outcome. Even negative emotions can be quite useful. And I think if you focus on positive ones, children will get more bought in to talking about their emotions, especially boys. We use a accomplishments jar or success jar. More for adults, but what you can do is talk about something that went really well. When you do something really well and when you really feel a strong emotion, go ahead and write that emotion down on a sticky, write the situation and date on the other side, and then you can sort of make that a little time capsule of a positive emotion, put it in a jar, and then when you kind of need that, go ahead and take a look at it, and it will bring you back to that moment. And we can move on. Next slide. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is values a little bit. And
sorry, I thought I was in on mute. My bad. I just wanted to say really quickly that since we are out of time, if anybody needs to go, we ask you to fill out this quick survey to get your PD certificate, but we are going to stay on and finish up the webinar.
Yeah, I think we probably can get it done in like 5 minutes or so, would you say, Allison? Yeah.
I agree. I just want to be cautious. If anybody has to run, I want to make sure that they get.
Yep, absolutely. And these slides will be available with some of the links and resources at the end. So thank you all for joining. If you have to jump off, that completely understand. So next, we wanted to briefly talk about some values. So values are often an overlooked aspect of your self-awareness and emotional responses. They will dictate how you will respond to a specific situation or event, and also your outlook. I think we take for granted that adults' values are fairly fixed and do not change for most people very often, but in children, these can change very quickly as they're growing up, particularly based on the groups that they are in. So I think you want to be cognizant. Friend groups, I think we've all seen kids who change when they get some new friends and change their outlook, but also things like teams or other groups, and even, you know, educators can have an influence on how they set up the groups. And I'm sure everyone has had a situation where they know they need to separate some kids. I think it's really important to really be careful if you are labeling values as good or bad. I think most of us would agree acceptance and learning mindset, these are good, but I think you really need to give children a chance to establish their own values. And a good way to do that, I think, is giving your personal perspective and also perspectives on other people. You know, it's Black History Month. You can give Martin Luther King, all of those sort of things. So why don't we go to the next slide? There is a very cool tool in the University of Minnesota extension that will allow you to look at some of your values and really it puts them on continuum. I put 3 of them here around control. Are you in control, or do you feel like you're sort of fate is in the hand of others? When things happen, you know, you may attribute them to other people. I do want to make a comment that people who have a internal locus of control often feel happier, and it has been shown to have some higher level of achievement. So I think it is, when you look at control, giving children the opportunity to control their own fate and outcomes is going to lead to more happiness, but that can be tough to control. So you know, I think these are useful to look at in deciding how you might respond to certain situations and understanding children and what might cause them to react in certain ways, and also probably for the staff that you work with. So in addition to those, we've covered just a few small areas here, and I know we are now running a few minutes over, so I wanted to briefly give you guys a few links on this next page of a lot more resources and some really great curriculum, activities, all of that. The first I had mentioned is that first link after the survey. That is a nice big toolkit. It's got some of the activities that we looked at, but also just really walks you through some more of the social emotional continuum and how to measure that stuff and really work on it with your staff. The second link here is 8 weeks of curriculum through a nationally recognized social emotional initiative that is completely free. It's one of the best curriculums that you can get. It is, I believe they have a K through 2 and a 2 through 6th grade curriculum there, about 70 pages, really useful. They have some videos, professional development, so would definitely encourage that. It's pretty well laid out. The third is I want to put some activities for early education. So this is the Collaborative for Social Emotional, I forget what the FEL part is. I don't know if you can help me out there, Allison, but this is they're associated with the pyramid model, University of Vanderbilt. So there's a lot of good resources. You may need to dig a little bit more. The site is not as intuitive, but there's a ton of good activities, worksheet, staff, family, all that stuff. And then the last one was a book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. This is really a handy book for adults. I've gone through it, use it. It gives you a way to judge your emotional intelligence in a few areas and then really work on developing it through some quick strategies. One that comes to mind is like not taking notes at meetings and really trying to focus on the people's reactions and trying to learn and understand through really just observing during meetings. And that like will increase your social awareness. They're all very one-page tips, things that you can work on. So would definitely recommend that. I think it's pretty reasonably priced. So those are just a few resources. So that was it. Wanted to say thank you all for jumping on here. Really appreciate you guys taking some of your time, and we hope that this was useful, and would love to know what else you guys would like from us. Is it activities? Is it sessions like this? You know, what is going to be helpful for you?
Yep. Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Again, make sure that you fill out the survey, please, so we can get some feedback like Todd was saying. And there is a question that asks you to include your email address and your name because you are eligible for some PD hours based on this. So please fill that out and we will get that information to you along with the slides within the next 48 hours, I would say. Great. All right, well, thanks everybody so much. And if you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to Todd or myself. I'll put my email address in here if you have any questions.